Hey friends, today in this video I am going to explain about the kernel and shell. These two are the core components of an operating systems. So what is the kernel and how this works and what all are the functionality of the kernel and shell? So we will go through one by one. So let's start. What is kernel? So kernel is the core component of an operating system acting as a bridge between hardware and software. It manages system resources like CPU, memory, and the devices which are attached on your computer on your operating system. The key functions of a kernel. So first is the resource management. In the resource management, it allocates CPU, memory, and device uses. Next is the process management that starts, stops, and schedules tasks for your operating system. Suppose you just want to start any process on your operating system that is managed by the kernel, and you just want to schedule any backup or some other tasks, so that also comes under the process management of the kernel. The next is the device management. It controls communications between hardware and software. In the next is the memory management. In the memory management, it allocates and deallocates memory. Suppose you want to open multiple applications on your operating system, and these all applications require some kind of memory. So this kernel will provide or allocates the memory, and also once you closes the applications, so this also deallocates the memory for your operating system. In the system calls, it provides an interface for applications to interact with the hardware. Suppose you have just media player applications or any applications that is related with the printer. So this provides the interface with the exact hardware. So in the media player, this will provides the interactions interface for your applications to interact with the audio hardware. At the same time, for the applications which requires the printer, so this provides the interface with the printer hardware for your applications. Types of kernels. So first is monolithic kernel and second is the micro kernel. So in the monolithic kernels, all services run in a single layer, for example Linux, and in the micro kernel, essential services run in the kernel and others run separately, for example Minix. Let's start to see the shell. What is the shell? The shell is the interface between the user and the operating system. It translates user commands into actions the kernel can execute. So basically, whatever the command that you have given, a user have given through any graphical interface or any CLI interface like terminal, so this translate the user commands into actions. What exactly user wants to do, if he has just given a correct command, so this will just start the actions the kernel can execute. This just instruct the kernel to execute the commands which is given by the user. Key functions of a shell. So first functions of the shell is the command interpreter. This just process and executes user commands. Next is the script execution, runs shell scripts to automate tasks. And third one is the user interface, which provides a text-based or graphical interface for the user. Types of shell. So first is the command line shells, for example bash, and second is the graphical shells, for example Gnome and KDE. So these two are the GUI shells for the user. How kernel and shell work together. So first, user input. You type a command in the shell. Suppose you just given the command like pwd or ls. So that is the user input. Shell processing. Shell processing. The shell translates the command into a system call. Next is the kernel executions. The kernel interacts with the hardware to execute the task which is given through the shell. Next is the output. The shell displays the result. So after uh, executing the task, the kernel gives the result to shell to show the output for the user. So mainly there are the four tasks which is just completed through the kernel and shell. First is the user input, second is the shell processing, third is the kernel execution, and fourth one and the final is the output, which is just displays the result for the user. Summary. Kernel, the brain of the operating system managing hardware and resources. Shell, the mouth and ears communicating between the user and the kernel. So together they form the backbone of an operating system. Suppose this is the shell. Here user is just sitting and user has just given the command to shell, and shell interact with the kernel and kernel interact with the hardware for the executions. So this makes a like a backbone of the operating system. So this is the complete diagram for the shell, kernel and the hardware for your operating system on any computers. Thank you for watching this video.